Team Rocket, a criminal organization in the world of Pokemon that has a very far reach. And they are led by one of the world's most powerful trainers, Giovanni, engineering anything from basic Pokemon theft, which is where the subject of today's video comes in. Jessy and James and Meowth, these three, possibly the three worst anti-heroes in the history of any medium. But wait, Ronan, why are you calling them anti-heroes? That's simple. Even though they work for one of the Pokemon world's most evil organizations, they do tend to do things their own way. Giovanni is cruel and calculating and will do anything to get what he wants. But Jessy, James, and Meowth, well, they do tend to do things that can be considered illegal. But they still have boundaries and morals that they won't cross. Yes, they do try to steal Pikachu and other Pokemon from time to time. But this, I think, is more out of a want of belonging. Jessy and James and Meowth all had a pretty poor childhood. Yes, Meowth too. He was a kid at one point. He grew up on the streets. Watch the episode when they went to Hollywood. That's no longer canon because Unova is now a region. Anyway, when they made it into Team Rocket, they finally felt a sense of longing that they had been searching for, with Team Rocket being their new family, and Giovanni being a father figure to them. They then proceeded to travel across 2 regions and a chain of islands in the name of their new family. But in Gen 3, we see Ash head to the Hoenn region in search of his next challenge. And in tow is none other than Jessy, James, and Meowth. And in this season, in the main timeline, it's pretty much the same as the last 2 regions. They try and fail multiple times to capture Pikachu and other Pokemon, all the while trying to establish a Team Rocket footing in the region, as they had no influence there. But what if, with this newfound freedom, they decided to take a different course of action? Kind of like how a choice in one of the other what ifs, what if Ash won the Indigo League, can change everything. Let's go see how this newfound freedom could affect Jessy, James, and Meowth. Okay, so I think right away in episode 1, let's get the show on the road. We can see this change, this choice being made. Within the first 3 minutes of the episode, we can see Jessy questioning their choices and if it's all worth it. I think this is the dividing point of the timeline. She just continues talking about how they always fail as they arrive in the Hoenn region. They never get Pikachu, and they have nothing to show for it. James, being more of the follower that he is, asks what they should do about it. Jessy says she don't know, but this is their chance, as they are the only members of Team Rocket in Hoenn. This is their chance to change, become stronger, to do things for themselves for once, and not for Team Rocket. James thinks deeply about this, but he does eventually agree, as he's tired of getting bested by the twerp. They turn to Meowth, and after some peer pressure, Meowth finally agrees. But secretly, he doesn't like where this is heading. From here, all the events play the same as in the anime until they get to Petalburg City. The events all happen same as in the original, even Ash challenging Norman, but losing to Vigoroth, and Team Rocket attacking the gym to capture all the Pokemon. But they are stopped and sent blasting off, as usual. Ash and May choose to leave, and they head to Rustboro City, Max in tow. But Team Rocket will stay behind. Jessy is upset that they lost so easily. Again. They can't even stand up to a gym leader. Then Jessy has a brilliant idea. She asks James, what's the one thing that the twerp always does that they don't? James just looks at her with a blank stare. Jessy yells at James for being dense. Then reiterates the gym challenge. James stares at her, even more puzzled. Jessy looks at him, and she thinks, okay, I'm going to have to break this down. Jessy explains, if they were to take the gym challenge, they could increase their skill to take on the twerp, then capture Pikachu. James is unsure of himself, but agrees. Meowth needs a little bit more convincing, but after agreeing that they will not lose focus on their priorities of capturing Pokemon, and more importantly, Pikachu, for the boss, Meowth is on board. Jessy says then, let's head back to the Petalburg gym and challenge Norman. Once back at the gym, they lay an open challenge to Norman, and after some scolding about the damage they caused at the gym, he does agree. Jessy is up first. Norman informs her that she needs 3 Pokemon to battle in his gym. She is shocked, as she was not available for the conversation when Ash and Norman had it. But thinking quickly, she demands that James let her use Weezing, and he does. The battle goes relatively well for Jessy. She starts with Weezing, but it is quickly knocked out by Slackoth. Then she sends in Arbok, which revenge kills Slackoth. Then Norman sends out Vigoroth. Then, after a bit of back and forth, the two manage to knock each other out. Now, Jessy is down to her last Pokemon, and she was trying to avoid using Wobbuffet, as she has no confidence in it. So she turns to Meowth, and she almost convinces it, but when Norman sends out Slacking, Meowth downright refuses. So, reluctantly, Jessy sends out Wobbuffet. After some flailing on Wobbuffet's part, and a severe annoyance on Slackoth's part, it finally stands up to try and end the battle with a Focus Punch. And out of pure panic, Jessy calls for a counter, which is returned at double the damage, knocking out Slacking. Jessy is stunned, as she didn't think she would win. Up until now, she had doubted her plan. But this now convinces her that she is on the right step. James and Meowth are just as surprised as Jessy is. Jessy then turns to James and asks if he is ready. James reminds Jessy that he only has one Pokemon, Weezing, and she used it. He's going to have to wait. As a result, the two pack up and head to Rustboro City. This does mean something changes for them. In the episode, A Poached Ego, we see 2 major events. The first one is Jessy and James releasing Arbok and Weezing. The second one is James catching Cacnea. But because they stayed for the gym battle, they missed the poacher, so Ash and his friends just took care of it without the assistance of Team Rocket, resulting in them not releasing Arbok and Weezing. But I still think that James would encounter Cacnea, and after giving it some food, he would catch it. Then we move on to the next episode, A Tale with a Twist. In this episode, we see Jessy capture Seviper. I think that this would still happen, but with the added effect that Arbok and Seviper do not, I repeat, do not get along. Now Jessy has her work cut out for her. Next we head into the taming of the Shroomish. As Ash and everyone has already made their way on, I think that passing through, James would befriend a random Shroomish and catch it. It's in his character, and this season seemed to give him grass type. Every other season did too, so I feel like a grass type like Shroomish would be a good addition to his team. But anyway, this is important, as it now puts both Jessy and James at 3 Pokemon each. But in the very next episode, Jessy catches Wurmple, giving her the advantage in Pokemon Count again. Oh well, I guess it really didn't even out, did it? Next on the list, Rustboro City. I think that the trio would arrive into the city just as Ash and friends are leaving to go to Dewford Island. They would confront each other. Ash accuses them of trying to steal Pikachu. Jessy just gloats. They have given up on Pikachu in pursuit of more important avenues. Puzzled, Ash asks what they mean. Jessy flashes the balance badge, bragging about how she beat Norman. May and Max accuse her of stealing the badge, but Jessy gets angry and defends herself, stating that she won the badge fair and square, and how they are here to challenge the Rustboro gym. Meowth is silently concerned. Ash demands that they prove it. Let's go to the gym. Jessy says, alright then, let's go. And they head to the gym. First up in this gym is going to be James. He sends out his newly caught Shroomish after a Stun Spore and a Mega Drain to get back some of the HP. Shroomish beats Geodude. Next up is Nosepass, which does take some time, but eventually it does knock out Shroomish. Now, James has a choice. Does he go with his newly caught Cacnea or Weezing? Ultimately, he decides to go with Cacnea for the type advantage, and after some creative dodging and a few needle arms, Cacnea manages to knock out Nosepass, earning him his first badge. James is now 100% on board with Jesse's plan and celebrates. Being that Roxanne just had a gym battle, she tells Jessy that she will have to wait until the morning for her battle. Jessy is fine with this, so she waits. Convinced somewhat of Team Rocket's new direction, Ash and team think they have seen enough. They choose to leave, and they go to the Pokemon Center. Ash tells Jessy and James that they should come and get ready for tomorrow. They jump at the chance for free food and a bed and follow along. But there's only one problem. These services at Pokemon Centers are only free to registered Pokemon trainers. And Jessy and James are not, as they don't have a Pokedex and have never had one. Upon hearing this info, the two start to panic, because this means that they may not be able to continue the gym challenge, as they are supposed to be registered in order to compete in the gym challenge, which could void the badges that Jessy and James have already won. The two are really panicking now. They don't know what to do. But Meowth has an idea. They should call the boss. He can take care of it and get them what they need. The two are at first hesitant, but they eventually make the call. After some convincing on the part of Meowth, Giovanni agrees and says their special Pokédexes will be there by morning. The next morning, after spending the earnings from James's gym battle to cover the cost of their food and rooms for the night, the brand new Pokédexes arrive via overnight mail from the Kanto region, with them as fully registered Pokemon trainers. Ash and friends head their own way. Jessy, James, and Meowth head back to the gym. The trio arrive. Jessy and Roxanne get right into it. First up, it's Geodude versus Seviper. After some clever battling on Roxanne's part, she takes out Seviper. This shakes Jessy. She had developed a bit of a chip on her shoulder as a result of beating Norman. But this rapid loss has brought her back down to earth. She then sends out Arbok. After some thinking, Jessy knows that Arbok is the best bet and leads with a dig, and it connects with Geodude, knocking it out. Roxanne then sends out Nosepass, and after a hard-fought battle, Arbok just barely manages to squeeze out a win over Nosepass, earning Jessy her second badge. Jessy realizes that the gym challenge is harder than she thought, but this makes her even more determined to win all 8 badges. The trio then move on to Dewford Island. They arrive hot on the heels of Ash's loss at the Dewford gym. They witness the final moments of the battle and Ash's defeat, witnessing Brawly's Hariyama evolving. This shakes Jessy a bit, but James, fresh off his victory at the Rustboro Gym, wants to go. So he schedules a battle the next morning. The next day, they head to the gym, and after a tense battle between Weezing and Machop that ends in a draw, James chooses Shroomish to battle Hariyama. But the little mushroom isn't enough. Even though it puts up a valiant effort, it gets knocked out with a karate chop. And now, James has been knocked down a few pegs. Jessy chooses to decline a gym battle with Broly at the moment, stating that she and James need more training to beat him, and the two head off to another part of the island to train. During this time, Jessy and May still have their rivalry of Wurmples. Then they move on to the Granite Cave. I think we need to even up the count between Jessy and James at this point. After some training and encountering Steven, James befriends a lowly Iron, the outcast of all the Irons in the cave. And after some bonding, it joins the team of James. But the Loudred that tramples Jessy seems to have it out for her. And after a lot of running from it, she chooses to face it and battle it, using her Seviper. She manages to catch it. So much for evening out the teams. On to the next episode. In the episode Gone Core Fishing, Jessy and James encounter the Twerps and witness Ash training and dodging the waves. This inspires the two to take on their own training. They separate themselves from the Twerps. Jessy tells James that he needs to remember how Brawly battled. It was smooth, patient, and relaxed. The two set out to mimic Brawly's battling style, and they get to work, training with all of their Pokemon, especially the new ones, Aron and Loudred. During all this time, while Jessy and James have been training, Meowth has been working hard to establish a secret base for Team Rocket. They have established a connection with Giovanni, who is pleased that they have established a secret base. All the while, Jessy's Wurmple has evolved into Cascoon, but she still thinks it's a Silcoon. Team Rocket is told that reinforcements will head their way to the base to establish a foothold on Dewford Island. Team Rocket still has the run-in with Team Plasma and Aqua. The events play out the same, and they chase both teams from the island. Next is the events of Seeing is Believing. Jessy's Cascoon evolves into a Dustox during the training with James. But all this training has some added effects. James's Shroomish evolves as well. Now that both have new Pokemon, they decide to head back to the gym. Ash and friends have already moved on from the island as he has won his second badge. This time, Jessy chooses to go first. She leads with Seviper, and after a struggle, it manages to take out Machop with the Poison Tail, but just barely. Then, Hariyama takes out Seviper. Jessy chooses to use Dustox next, and with a Stun Spore to slow down Hariyama, the combo of Confusion and Gust, she manages to barely take out Hariyama, earning her third badge. Brawly tells James that he can come back tomorrow to have his battle. The night at the Pokemon Center, James vents his frustrations and fears about facing Brawly. He already lost once. What if he hasn't trained enough? Jessy tells him to stop whining. He will do fine. He needs to be confident, or he will lose again. This seems to be the pep talk James needed. The next day, they head to the gym. This time, James leads with Cacnea, and it is able to beat Machop with a Needle Arm. Hariyama is then sent out, and Cacnea manages to hold its own for a while, causing some damage, but the battle with Machop has tired it out, so it does lose to Hariyama. James then sends out his newly evolved Breloom. After a back and forth between Breloom and Hariyama, a Mach Punch manages to put down the colossal Pokemon, earning James his second badge. But now the trio has a new problem. They are under direct orders from Giovanni to wait until the troops arrive to take over the base. But Jessy and James are worried that this will end their gym challenge. They are worried that they will be forced to head up the new division of Team Rocket. I hope you guys enjoyed today's What If. What do you guys think about this approach to Team Rocket and them taking on the gym challenge? Do you guys think we're on the right track? Does Jessy and James have a chance at completing their gym challenge? What about their teams? Do you think they are coming together? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. This is Ronan Charizard.
Hey everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for your support. If you like the content that I'm providing, please don't forget to subscribe. And also, don't forget to leave a like, as it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and helps my content get to a bigger audience to help the channel grow. I will see you in the next video.